What is going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. Today we're going to continue our Oct 3 builds for y'all with a Titan Prismatic build using the Stoicism exotic class item. I know not everybody has it, but it is feeling real nice on this build. You can always throw on one of just the normal exotics when I talk about the two spirits that we're going to be using. So we're gonna start that all out right here with y'all, showing you the Spirit of Severance as our first one. So powered melee or finishers unleash a damaging explosion. This will help us with consecration that we're going to be using, finishers that we're going to be using, as well as to help us even with a normal melee, because they're going to be strand, helping us to create tangles and explosions. Our other one is the Spirit of Contact. So damaging a target with a powered melee causes all nearby targets to suffer lightning strikes and become jolted, which is pretty disgusting with the ability that we got on this with Severance, as well as Contact and the Consecration. Even though it's a debuff, or it has been nerfed over the past couple episodes, it is still absolutely disgusting on Titans, and definitely a main go-to for a lot of speedrunners, a lot of high end game content. When we move on to our Prismatic subclass that we're going to be using our Blade Fury, so we can get those unstoppable champions, etc. Plus it pairs with the strand synergy that we're going to have, defeating those suspended targets, going to help us with tangles as well. So super nice for us in this build. We're also pairing that with obviously Frenzy and our good old shackled grenade, so we can get that suspend, even more tangles to be created, even more sever to go on with the artifact that got some juice in this episode. Knockout Consecration, of course, so we can get those gnarly explosions, get some health back when we get those defeats. Plus this will help us to get that nice melee range and damage increase as well. So it is a beautiful little synergy that we got with all of these, and this suspend is going to be super important for all the tangles that we're going to be creating. As we move on to our fragments right here, we got Facet of Courage, Arc, Solar, Avoid abilities to increase damage to those affected by darkness debuffs. So Consecration going to be absolutely disgusting because of all the suspend that we're going to have, as well as Sever on this build. Facet of Awakening, rapidly defeating targets with light, darkness, or super final blows generate elemental pickups. So for us, we're going to get a lot of those tangles because of this, with our super, with our normal melee, with our shackle, and that suspend going on. And then as well, we're going to get definitely some of those fire sprites because of the Consecration melee. On top of that, Facet of Solitude, landing those precision hits, we're going to have that severing burst to happen, which again, super nice for us to have even more tangles spawn, because that is really kind of what we're focusing on with this build. With the new artifact mods that came out, lots of tangle going on, so they can get us to sever targets and create a bunch of woven mail just innately. So super nice. Facet of Protection, while surrounded by combatants, you are more resistant to incoming damage, just helping us to stay alive in that end game content and really get up close and personal for Frenzied Blade and Consecration, with all of that solar ignition that we're gonna get via Consecration, as well as Severance on our exotic class item. Gonna have a little bit bigger AoE, so just kind of spreads to how this build plays together and has some crazy synergy. When we move on to our weapons, we're going to be juicing enemies with the Unsworn. This has rewind rounds plus detonator beam, so very good because of what we got on our artifact especially. Plus it pairs really well with the unraveling and sever of this build. Plus it's going to help us with overload. We're going to have unstoppable rockets, but this down here right here is going to have suppression. We're going to have solar ignitions, or at least we're going to scorch enemies, and then because of our catalyst, we're going to be able to jolt targets as well. So it is a sweet little combination of having all three of those on this exotic rocket, the two-tailed fox. And then we're going to have a Doom of Chelchis right here, Firefly, Dragonfly. This is going to help us to get volatile rounds on this build. So volatile rounds is going to help us with our anti-barrier. So we're really going to have all three abilities to stun champions with this build. On top of that, because all the shackle grenades that we're going to have help us with our unstoppables as well. well. Now, the reason that we're using some of these weapons, we got ourselves the Tablet of Ruin with this new row down here. Like I said, we got our unstoppable champions, we got our overload champions, really nothing else that feels right, or I guess that we are using, so I just threw on anti-barrier sniper. But importantly, we do got void marksman or volatile marksman, so all those precision hits or rapid final blows grant us volatile rounds. So this will happen with our Chelsis, our Doom of Chelsis, a scout rifle, or with our rocket. Picking up orbs of power or tangles is going to create unraveling rounds for our nice beautiful trace rifle, and then that adds to down here a vile weave. Targets hit by our tangles are severed, which again is going to help us to create even more tangles with this build, and then dealing sustained damage to those severed targets unravels them, and then when we defeat them is going to create a hotspot of that woven mail, like I was saying. So this will help us to have that nice damage reduction because of woven mail, and with the amount of tangles that we're going to have, the amount of unravel that we're going to have, it's going to be very easy to get vile weave and to shreds both to proc. Helping that is going to be this elemental siphon right here, because all of those defeats with a super or a weapon that matches our super is going to create elemental matchups that match it. So we're going to be able to get a bunch of tangles to be created with our overload trace rifle. Hash refraction, all of those suspended, severed, or unraveled targets are going to be able to be juiced by that. So most of the time, in my personal opinion, I was using that beautiful trace rifle because of the combination of all of these with our two shreds as well as the vial. And then on top of that, we are going to get even more threadlings to proc, which threadlings sever targets. They're going to create even more tangles for us. So beautiful synergy of all of that. With last but not least, we got our last two, Malignant Harvest, helping us to have a weakening burst with our void weapons after we cause even more volatility because of our volatile marksman, and then heavy ordnance right here. Really kind of like this for our rocket because it does do pretty good damage, and we're going to be able to get our grenade and melee back very, very quickly, allowing us to suspend more targets, do more consecration, even a normal strand melee that we're getting, we're going to sever targets. So it's a beautiful synergy that we got on this artifact and the build. As we move on to our beautiful Titan that we got here, looking very steampunky, if you will, very much like a Scorn, but we got ourselves a resilience, discipline, strength at 100, so we can have the most survivability as well as spam our shackle grenades and spam our consecration. We're going to create orbs of power with our harmonic siphon, void siphon, as well as heavy-handed. Super nice because of that consecration that we got going on, and we're using those orbs of power in a few different ways. Heavy ammo finder, so we can keep that two-tailed fox up and running at all times. Focusing strike, as well as impact induction, so we can get back our abilities a little bit in an internal feedback loop. Now, what we're going to be using those orbs of power for, we are going to be using it for recuperation. When we pick it up, we're going to get health back, as well as having void weapon search. So both our rocket as well as our Doom of Chelsis going to be able to do a little bit more damage. I'm pretty sure that two of these are 17%, and then if you add the third one, it goes up to like 22 or something like that. But this is a good bit of damage that we're going to get increased with that double time dilation, so it's going to last absolutely forever in my personal opinion. And we're going to be creating a bunch of orbs of power, which is what powers this up, if you will. So basically never running out of all that, with outreach, of course. So when we do throw down our class ability, we're going to get back a little of that melee. And then, as I always say, for our chest piece, totally depends on the content you are going into and what kind of burns you're really facing. But GM that I was going into, a lot of void, a lot of AoE damage going on, so that's why I threw on the double void resistant with concussive dampener. But again, for these builds, or at least this couple that I'm throwing out here, we're building it hard into using rockets and using tangles and strand to really create some beautiful synergy with the new artifact perks that we got. Lots going on with unraveling and severing, creating woven mail just for free basically, which is super nice in my personal opinion. One of the best ways to stay alive, or best damage resistance that we got in that endgame content. We're going to be able to really take advantage of sever, or I should say of the spirit of severance and the spirit of contact. We're going to get jolting on this build. We're going to have solar ignitions. We're going to have suppression. We're going to have suspension. We're going to have unravel, sever, and weakening, all just from this build by using your weapons. It is pretty easy to get all of them to proc, in my personal opinion. So very, very fun to use, very, very easy to use. And like I said, consecration still easily one of the best, if not the best thing to use on a Titan. A lot of speedrunners use it. A lot of people that do solo endgame content, solo raids, solo GMs definitely use this because of how powerful it is, even with the nerf that it got over the past couple episodes, over the past episode acts, if you will. So definitely give this bad boy a try. Very, very fun to use, and you can use it in any type of content. So really appreciate you guys for always coming back to the channel. Don't be afraid to like, subscribe, and slap that bell if you haven't. Helps me out, helps the channel out. You guys will get all the notifications on the builds that we put out, guild rules, etc. So definitely be on the lookout for all of those. I appreciate you guys for always coming back. Means a lot to me, means a lot to the channel again, and hopefully y'all can crush some content this weekend. New GM with the Sunless Cell. We got ourselves a bunch of RNG in the Nether, so definitely get to grinding all of that out. But again, appreciate you guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.